This is an Audio Wool original.
It is Frightday. I'm your host, Byron, broadcasting live from our unassuming compound in the woods of Montana. Today, not tonight. Faith is often not an easy thing for rational folks to latch onto, blindly committing to walk a path with your destination beyond the mountains and the tree line. But like a cartoon with a nose full of pie smells, is it best to just close your eyes and float in its direction, finding yourself potentially in the presence of a warm, sweet pastry? Or is that just easier? We'll talk about it tonight, as well as board games and music copyright, as we review Scott Beck and Brian Wood's Heretic. I'm joined by Kelly.
Hello!
And Sam can't make it because he's playing board games and thinking a lot about it.
Yeah.
Deeply.
Yeah. Thinking about going to law school for copyright law.
Is that right? Kelly, we're remote because it's the holiday season and we're both very busy trying to squeeze things in, but we're not going to sacrifice the quality of our content just because the quality
Oh my gosh.
your microphone is a little less, but
yeah, well,
happy to see you. It's been a while, Kelly.
Luckily, our voices are so good that the microphone quality doesn't matter.
Is that right? This show's live, and because of that, I want to say, oh, sorry, Phoenix, that you are stuck in bed suffering from the flu with freezing weather outside. That is disappointing. Sorry about that. But
it is.
Thanks for considering us a nice treat.
It's worth $25 if you haven't watched Heretic. You should do that while you're stuck in bed.
Well, you could have seen it in the theater for cheaper, but glad you spent our money on that. The Frightday Society money, and it was good. Well, spoiler alert, it may have been good money. Who knows?
Look at you! You just pulled a Kelly.
Well, if people follow me on Letterboxd, which Byron McKoy is my name there, you might know my thoughts on this film already. But
so they have to dig pretty hard to find you. That's what you're saying?
No, it's my first and last name. It's pretty easy, but you should go do it. It's fun there. Live and talking.
Jacob's
film.
actually tried to talk me into that before.
Really? I feel like when he was on an episode, you got jealous that he had social media that you did not.
Well, it sounds like fun social media without like the toxic shit, so it sounds way more fun.
Definitely, I agree. We're live and we're talking film for the first time in a while. We've been deep in the RFK saga, and we are going to be wrapping that up. It seems like
we are
in the new year. I don't know. It might be the next episode we record, because after that is episode 400, which
oh my gosh.
Wow. Surprising, big number. But
20 squared, Byron, is 400. Right? 20 squared. 400 is a really big number. It's like a round number. It's a perfect square. It is... There's a lot of numerology going on with the number 400.
As an angel number, we could read about it really quick. It's a blend of the attributes and energies of number 4 and 0, and the number 0 appearing twice amplifies the vibrations of both number 4 and 0.
Okay, that is not even a good numerology of it. I'm going to get you a better numerology for the episode. Don't worry.
Well, I'm reading, of course, the listing at sacredscribesangelnumbers.blogspot.com. But, yeah, not sure what film we're covering. I think we might leave it up to the FDS folks. We cover classics at the
right. I need to start sending out bribes about the movie I want covered.
But we're also going to be doing a Q&A to celebrate. So we have a couple questions in the hopper already, but get your questions in. Reach out to us at Frightday on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky for folks who are over there. Email us.
I have a question. Do we get to review the questions ahead of time, or do we have to answer like impromptu?
How about the ones that will require thoughtful answers I will share with you, and the ones that I think would best be answered otherwise, I will keep to myself.
Just be careful.
I will.
Because you know that I might say problematic things.
That's true. You tend
on
to.
The spot. I tend to.
Contact at frightday.com for longer questions, but more preferably than that, you can leave us a voicemail. I'm not used to this. I'm rusty.
Hold on. Do we have
the Frightday phone lines are now open?
Open. What?
I was asking if we had voicemails to listen to.
Call 1-833-374-4489 now to share your paranormal encounters and real-life nightmares, or to talk horror with the hosts.
Because we want to hear your sweet voices, and that's the best way to ask questions to us, and we'll play those voicemails, and we'll have a nice, fun celebration of this project of ours. So, once again, 1-833-374-4489. 1-833-FRIGHT9. We do have a voicemail, Kelly.
Bye. Byron, Kelly, Sam, out there making donuts. I'm late to the game, but I just saw Heretic. Yeah, I'm kind of speechless because I don't want to spoil anything. Go see it. Don't let anybody tell you much about it because, I don't know, man. It's complicated.
It is.
But
well put.
It's worth watching. So go see it. All right. It's me. Love you guys. Bye.
Hey, you. Love you too.
Okay, that was awesome and reminds me exactly of how we watched it. So who's like squeezing between things.
Well, I watched it on opening night, actually. So
I know.
I went to the theater. I did watch it. But we are late to the game in terms of covering it for the show. So
that's okay. It's kind of, we're second wave, Byron. We're not late to the game. We're second wave. So, like,
interesting.
Everybody who doesn't like getting in on, like, you know, oh my gosh, this is what everybody's talking about. It's like, okay, well, let's wait for the buzz to die down, and then let's talk about the real movie without all of the bullshit that comes with buzz.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on my marathon list as we approach the end of the year, which I imagine that'll be episode 401. So far, I need to watch Humane, The Devil's Bath, Hold Your Breath, Daddy's Head, Apartment 7A, VHS Beyond, Don't Move, Mads, which I'm really looking forward to, Never Let Go, Salem's Lot, the remake, which I might not need to watch.
Oh my God, Byron, I've watched 2/3 of the movies you've just named.
That's great.
I didn't realize how far ahead I was.
You are. The Watchers, Exuma, The Deliverance, which we were going to cover for the show, but we did not. A Quiet Place, which you're behind on all of those.
No, Byron, listen to this.
Did you watch all of the Quiet Place?
But I did watch that one.
Well, it is just kind of a prequel, right? So interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's why I decided to watch it.
You saw Alien Romulus, In Flames, You'll Never Find Me. I haven't seen Blackout, the Fessenden and Werewolf film I need to watch, and Terrifier 3. I have seen Heretic,
Byron, I have a question.
Strength Darling, Front Room, Trap, Substance, Smile 2, Azrael, Abigail, Things Will Be Different, Cuckoo, Maxine, and Speak No Evil.
Byron, can we do something, please?
Of course.
I think it's important. Can you send me a list of movies you watched this year?
I just said them all. I just literally
I know
said
you
them
said
all.
them, but you don't. That isn't really all of them. You don't have them all.
It is. Plus all the ones that we cover for the podcast.
Okay, well, I was not taking notes. I don't expect that you were taking notes when I tell you.
Back.
So,
okay.
Byron, if you send me a list and I send you a list of the ones that I watched, we can make sure that we actually proactively overlap.
Well, I think it would make sense for us to have maybe a collaborative list with all of the things that I just said, plus the things that you would add to it, and then we will check them off as we go. That is kind of what you said.
I agree. Yeah, that is what I said, but I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. It's been an interesting year in horror. There's been some good surprises and some sequels, but we haven't relied on legacy this season, which is kind of nice. We have, however, fallen into the slump of it being pretty much just A24 horror films that make it to the top.
Well, yeah, but here's what I will say, you guys. Last year, I made a formal tradition out of this, and I highly recommend doing it yourself. I did gather my list right before the mad dash before, for me, Christmas, whatever anybody's celebrating or not celebrating this year. And I pull historically lots of all-nighters right before, getting stuff ready for the kids and for everybody else. And I just marathoned horrifying movies while doing all of that, for 3 nights in a row.
That's how you celebrate.
It is now one of my fondest holiday memories. It's a new tradition. I'm going to actually go out and buy snacks for it this time. I'm telling everybody to leave me the fuck alone.
Sure.
Because it's Christmas and I want to watch my horror movies and get everybody ready for Christmas. So, like, that's what I'm going into this weekend.
That's what this weekend's looking like. Okay, great. Well, I'll get that list to you as soon as possible. Or you could go to discord.frightday.com where it's listed in the movies discussion.
I bet it's on Letterboxd, too. You put all your movies in Letterboxd.
I should do that. That wouldn't be a bad idea. But...
okay. Love it.
Yeah, this is... I've been kind of excited to talk about this film with you since I saw the premiere of it, but we aren't going to do that quite yet. It is... time for staff picks. Time to get to work because, these DVD copies of that new version of the Blair Witch Project, which I spent far too much money on, but it is the original camera footage.
Real cool looking.
Yeah, have you seen this? They
No,
apparently...
I think we actually need, Byron, we need to do a, I don't know, like maybe some type of live event where we watch that. I feel like that's really worthwhile.
It's not going to put itself away. It's time for staff picks.
They say so much, but they never tell you if it's any good.
Werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom in it?
The Howling, horror, straight ahead.
I'm getting kind of lazy with how I do these, aren't I? My staff pick, speaking of that, very tangential, but I think it works. It is a small film from the year 2019. I don't think we covered it. I don't think it made any of our lists. It stars Bill Skarsgård and Micah Monroe. And with a cast like that, I don't know why we skipped it. But it's about a pair of... Oh, wait, it's called Villains, first of all.
Are you sure we skipped it?
I don't think we covered it. You may have seen it, but it most certainly didn't get its own episode. It's about a pair of amateur criminals attempting to break into a house. When their car breaks down, they soon realize that they are in over their heads when they discover that the home owners are harboring a dark secret. Maybe you told me to watch this, right?
So it's so funny. I assume you told me to watch it. That's how it plays in my brain. I just know that it taught me not to fuck with Kevin Bacon's wife.
We have a 666 character review for it at frightday.com written by Lona. And I gave it an 8.3. That's pretty good.
I really liked it. I remember thinking, because I've obviously got a strong preference for Bill's brother over him.
Sure.
And I remember thinking like, all right, maybe he's pretty... Actually, I could probably...
You'll take a Skarsgård, of course. An opportunity. It's a twisty little basement horror film directed by a directorial team here. Dan Burke and Robert Olson. Kind of funny, similar to our team tonight. Two guys getting together, making a film. These guys, though, Robert and Dan, just so happen to have also directed one of the best, most underrated holiday horror films from 2015. A small little mumbly film called Body.
Have I seen that one,
Byron? I hope so. I saw it at the 2014 Stanley Film Festival. It's great. It is about three best friends who break into an empty, secluded mansion for a night of fun, but it's not long before things get way out of hand when they accidentally kill the groundskeeper. Maybe. It stars Helen Rogers, which I don't know where the hell she is. Missing her a lot. Incredible actor.
She's probably living a happy, fulfilled life outside of the eyes of all the creeps like us.
That, could be. Occasionally on Instagram, she does do a 1-minute drawing where she draws for a minute and then posts it on Instagram. It's great. It's cool stuff. Good work. It also has a bonus Fessenden. I feel like you've seen this, but if you haven't, go check it out. And also go check out Villains. I like these guys. I think they do good work. And I wonder what they've done recently. A 2002 film called Significant Other, which I believe I've also seen, if I'm thinking, starring Micah Monroe. That's an odd little film. But
I haven't seen it, but I really do want to see it because I've heard fun things about it. It's popped up, like maybe I should watch it a few times.
Yeah, it takes place in the Pacific Northwest. Beautiful landscape, interesting story. But they also have a film coming out next year, 2025, called Novocaine, which is about a girl When the girl of his dreams has kidnapped a man incapable of feeling physical pain, turns his rare condition into an unexpected advantage in the fight to rescue her. And guess who it stars? I thought it is Jack Quaid. Yes.
I actually just listened to a audio, like a podcast, 8-part podcast, horror narrative, like scripted podcast, as we've talked about. Not really my thing, but it was fun. Starring Jack Quaid. It was great.
Interesting. I like Jack Quaid. I also just realized that my staff pick is Dan Burke and Robert Olson, it seems. Maybe not just a film, but 2 directors. So sorry about that.
Wow. Okay. Huh.
How about you, Kelly?
Well, my staff pick is a super weird one. Hugh Grant has kind of followed a path in my brain that's a little bit like the path that Matthew McConaughey followed, where for the majority of my life did not take him seriously as anything other than one of the fun vignettes in Love Actually. Mm-hmm. And then in recent years, I've really started to appreciate Hugh Grant more. I think that he's got more to him. And so I was digging a little bit to figure out all of the things that I had missed in the olden days that he did that I, clearly wasn't around for. And I don't have a hell of a lot of interest in like digging back into his rom-coms because maybe I'll get to the point where I feel like that's worthwhile. But at this point, I definitely don't think it is.
That was the direction I initially went, though, was like looking for leading men who eventually went to genre. And
right.
Kind of what
and I don't. About. Well, no, because I don't know that Hugh Grant ever did go to genre. And I don't know that he ever will, but he dabbled very early in his career in a fucking weird as hell movie that has a really high rating on IMDb. I mean, high in the world of like horror flicks. It's got like a 6.0, but I think it's only from a cult classics standpoint. It's a movie called The Lair of the White Worm. And it is very...
Oh, I'll play the trailer. I actually have it pulled up.
Yeah.
I just showed
Perfect.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah?
I always forget you do that. Yeah.
Mom!
Yes. In this sleepy village.
Something's been found in Stone Rig Cavern.
Legend has it that Stone Rig Cavern was the lair of the Dampton worm.
My God.
An ancient evil has been awakened. So this is a modern trailer of the 1988
The victim appears to be afflicted by a form of vampirism.
Wow. And the only one who can stop it is him.
I hear you're having trouble with a snake.
Ah, and you're going to uphold family tradition and slay the beastie.
Are you out of your mind?
Some legends.
My, you are a fine droid.
That's a boy, Kelly. This woman
looks like he's about 12.
Bathing a boy. Uh-oh.
That's not
Here's to the first swallow.
That lady just bit his crotch?
You're jumping to conclusions there.
Yeah, it seemed to be the implication. And these aren't vampires. They are, Amanda Donoghue, Hugh Grant, this film. All right, she bit his crotch too. The Lair of the White Worm. Wonderful. From 1980.
Tale to tell you.
I can hardly wait.
I have never heard of this.
So first of all, Scottish accents. Who doesn't want to watch a movie and listen to Scottish accents? Well, nobody I want to be friends with.
Okay.
It's weird as shit. Do not expect a high quality film like the one we're discussing tonight.
I was just about to say, it looks kind of high budget though. I mean, they shot in a cavern.
Well,
the shots look pretty good.
It was definitely meant to be zany. Like it wasn't like, oh, this was so bad that it just became like a cult classic. I think its whole intent was to become a cult classic. It just hit the mark reasonably well. And I do think the Scottish accents helped tremendously. But it's also got the one day would become Doctor Who, also something I haven't gotten into, but a whole lot of people seem to be into.
People like that.
Yeah. Some good-looking ladies, some really weird, awkward, sexual stuff.
Sure.
Some great posters. If you look at the posters,
so
they look like... cover art for really bad music from the late 80s, early 90s.
I completely agree. Yeah. I kind of love it. I don't usually like, purposefully corny or campy stuff, but this, seems like a lot of fun. This is directed by Ken Russell, who also did the 1980 film Altered States, which I haven't seen, but that's another cult classic that a lot of people dig quite a bit.
He also directed Tommy, for those of you who are into movie films. The zany, weird, pseudo-drug, not pseudo, it's pretty heavily drug-addled narrative of Tommy, which, Byron, if you're not aware, is basically The Who put together a concept album, and it was basically a musical, and that was Tommy.
Yeah, that's
Pinball Wizard.
I don't know anything about that.
You've heard of that. You've heard of Tommy the Pinball Wizard. You've heard of that.
I don't know if I have.
I doubt you've watched it, but anyhow, same director. Really, you guys check it out. Lots of fun.
You ready to get a
lots
copyright
and lots
strike?
Of fun.
You want a copyright strike, Kelly?
Are we playing Lana? Let's play Lana.
No. Before we lock up, I'd like to take a second to welcome and initiate some folks to the Frightday Society.
Well, that's not going to give us a copyright strike.
This music does, unfortunately, yeah. I'd like to give a big shout out to Christopher B. I don't have the gong anymore, do I? Nope. I usually gong them in to the Frightday Society. Either way, this thing, it's just not going very well, is it?
I was just going to say, Byron, that music, I don't know it's worth a copyright strike.
Totally not. Turned it off. I wonder if that hits. But either way, welcome to the Frightday Society.
So weird.
Time to make it official, of course, by taking the oath, which you have to decipher this, repeat it back. Welcome. You're not going to welcome Christopher B. to the Frightday Society?
My brain was stuck in trying to see if I could decipher anything that was just said backwards, because I've been playing that with our local D&D group. I've been making them do backwards stuff, and no, I couldn't understand any of that.
Yeah. You also can join the Frightday Society by going to thefrigdaysociety.org. Hundreds of hours, I believe. I don't know if I can say hundreds. Certainly over 100 hours of additional content there.
Oh, no, it's hundreds. You can say hundreds.
You think so? What did we just do? We did a thick normie roundup, over an hour of all the things that we've been up to and are looking forward to.
And I thought of so many that I forgot. I was like, shit.
Yeah? You're looking forward to a part 2 then, huh?
Yeah, I need to do one. Maybe I'll record my own and just somehow figure out how to post it on Patreon myself.
Yeah, I also posted a Q&A that I attended at South by Southwest last year for the film Azrael, as it's now available on Shudder. You can check that out. What are you just adding it to your list? You mouthed.
I'm making our list right now, the one that you suggested.
Sure, yes. The one I suggested.
And I'm putting it on there.
Great.
Well, no, you suggested doing it together rather than two different ones. I like that idea.
That is true. Okay. Collaborative. Much better. But yeah, that's there. And then also Kelly did a wonderful report on the Coroner to the Stars, a guy who was just so happened to be, he had his hands in a lot of very famous folks. So that'll be there really as hundreds of other things. So join the FrightdaySociety.org now. You can also take advantage and activate a 7-day free trial like Allie did. It's a smart move. Thanks a lot, Allie. Bonus episodes of Captain Kelly's Cryptids, Conspiracies, Byron Serial Corner, The Writer's Room, Toast to Toast PM with One Kelly, Cinema Autopsy. We have to pick our holiday Cinema Autopsy film as well. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. Maybe we'll take it easy.
I need to think of what that should be. Oh, man, that's going to be hard.
What did we do last year? We did Jack Frost as a cinema cremation, which we roasted. But I don't remember the film that we... What was the other one that we did? Do you recall?
No. Byron, recall? You know what that word means to me.
Well,
Let's
go
be
check
real,
it out.
Friend.
Let us know. First episodes, too. The first 10. You'll get those so much for you there at thefrigdaysociety.org. Kelly, I've been waiting a while to discuss this film with you. It's time to leave the store lockup and review Heretic.
enjoying your visit here this evening. Now, on with the show.
Heretic is a 2024 American psychological horror film written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Two young missionaries become ensnared in a deadly game of cat and mouse when they knock on the door of the diabolical Mr. Reed. Trapped in his home, they must turn to their faith if they want to make it out alive. So back in November of 2017, I met Scott and Brian in Covington, Kentucky. You remember this, Kelly? During a set visit.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes,
yeah, I was flown out by the production.
It was these guys.
Yeah, I was flown out by the production company. They were shooting their new their film Haunt at the time. We never released any of those interviews with the actors or director, anyone.
Why?
I was supposed to talk to Eli Roth. I don't know. There was an embargo, and then when the embargo was up, I felt like they were trying to bury this. I don't think they liked it. I liked the film, not them in particular. But
Byron, can we say Patreon content?
Yeah, I think that it might.
I feel like you should totally release that.
Yeah, I'll drop it over at the FrightdaySociety.org.
Because it's funny, I did not put that together, but one of my notes that I wanted to talk about for this is how much I want to find out if these two are really as good of friends and as fun as they seem to be.
They were such sweethearts. They were really, really cool.
Really?
I had a wonderful time during that set visit, and I really enjoy the film Haunt. I think it's an underrated little gem. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And oh gosh, I do like these guys. I might have a little bit of beef, and we'll talk about that in a second. Also underrated, though, I want to highlight a little found footage film they did before this called Nightlight, which back in 2015, I think it made my top list before we were doing like podcast top lists. It made my written list. I really enjoyed it.
Oh.
There was a little bit of buzz, but yeah, nothing like the screenplay that they sold a year later to Jim from The Office. They are the folks responsible for the story and the initial script for the A Quiet Place film, and
they've been involved in all of them, right?
They have, yeah. I don't know to what degree. Maybe they wrote them all. I didn't check that, but I have a little bit of beef with the Quiet Place films, and having.
Well, I think you probably should have done what I did, which is start with the quiet ones.
With the quiet ones, day one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
the Quiet Ones.
Sorry,
is
start
a
with Day One.
Film. Yeah,
that is. Sorry, my bad. I was thinking A Quiet Place.
Yeah, Day One.
Yeah, so I started with Day One. So far,
Lupita, wonderful, right?
Pretty good.
Charming, great.
Love her.
Well, yeah,
really love her.
Of course we do. I don't know. I didn't like John Krasinski's, attempt to just enter the genre world.
You didn't feel like he had earned his spot? I know, you're so weird.
Well, I was there. I was at the world premiere of it. I saw his Q&A afterwards. I don't believe him. But
didn't pay the proper respect.
I don't think so.
To the cult.
Yeah, they moved from that to Haunt, which was produced by Eli Roth, who was supposed to be there in Kentucky. He was not. Also, where the hell has Eli Roth been? Like, I don't know what he's been up to at all.
I'm serious, but go ahead.
Wait, what do you mean? You think I for some reason I think he actually is kind of a good guy. Oh, did he do this? Okay, he directed the Borderlands movie, that video game adaptation this year that I think it did okay, actually. Well, it's got 2.7 audience score.
Did do okay. I think it did really poorly.
Well, I guess he's trying to get into a little bit of tangential work, get out of the direct, horror genre, I guess. Who knows? But I guess that's where Eli Roth has been, just not on my personal radar. Things then take a little detour. June 2018, they signed on to write and executive produce a film adaptation of Stephen King's short story, The Boogeyman, for 20th Century Fox. Did they write the, what's his name? The guy who did Host. Did they write that script?
Host?
Remember Rob, oh my God. This is the worst. Rob Savage. Yeah, they did write that. Okay. Remember Rob Savage, the guy who did Host and Cobweb and what else did he do? Dashcam. not Cobweb.
Yeah.
He did Host, he did Dashcam, then he did Boogeyman, and Boogeyman was bad because maybe he needs to direct only his own work, but I didn't like that movie. Boogeyman was a stinker. Did you watch that? Staring straight forward, straight at the screen.
I'm looking at the synopsis of Boogeyman, trying to read it and figure out if I did watch it.
I think you would remember the moment in the trailer where the little girl rolls that light up moon down the hallway.
No, I don't think so.
So she didn't.
I don't think so.
Either way, I didn't
but
like
I love
that movie.
Sophie, so I clearly need to go back and watch it.
That's true.
Freaking Sophie Thatcher's one of my faves.
In there. So I forgot that they wrote that. So that's interesting. They wrote that for 20th Century Fox, and then they developed a TV series called Zeros for Sony Picture TV, based on the novel of the New York Times bestselling author Scott Westerfield, Margot Langen, and Deborah Biancotti. Either way, I don't know anything about this.
Biancotti.
Yeah, the weirdest but still pretty mainstream step in their career. May of 2020, it was announced that Beck and Woods would write, direct, and produce 65 for Sony Pictures.
Right, with Adam Driver. I never saw it. Did you see it?
I have not. I've heard not wonderful things. It's a future or past space dinosaur film.
Which honestly sounds like a friggin' blast to me. Also, I love Adam Driver. I don't know that that's a popular opinion anymore, but I do.
I don't know. I think people are fine with it. And it seems like, looking at the reviews, people are kind of down the middle with this. I thought it was a flop. I thought this was like a bomb for sure, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
Well, I think it was really expensive, right? So it may have lost a lot of money, but I think it was like people had decent critical response to it.
They said,
but I think it lost a shitload of money.
45 million, but probably a lot in advertising. I remember seeing them pushing that, and I just didn't want to buy it.
Did they make it back at all, or was it pretty?
I don't see it. But here we are. June of 2023, it was reported that Scott and Brian wrote and would direct a film for A24. Hugh Grant, Chloe East, they were both cast in lead roles, with Sophie Thatcher joining later. And then they said that the film was inspired by films like one of Kelly's favorites, Contact, and then Inherit the Wind, which I don't know anything about.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. What's Inherit the Wind?
Okay. What?
What? Are you truly surprised?
It's
from the 1960s. So what?
It's a play. It's like a classic, like the same time as To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, I'm not going to play intellectual here. Going in reverse from 1960 is not going to get me there.
So the Scopes trial, which was a big trial that dealt with whether you were allowed to teach Darwinism or creationism in class. Okay, and that's at the point when it wasn't even necessarily called evolution. It was like Darwin's theory, because
the theory,
back in the 60s. Okay, yeah. Huge trial that had a ton to do with that issue in our society. This movie was literally a stage play based on lawyers having that argument, that discussion.
So it probably was impactful at the time because it exposed more people to that idea.
But trying to understand how the fuck that connects to 65 as an inspiration
we're not on 65. We're on Heretic at this point.
Oh, then that makes perfect sense.
Doesn't? Okay, good, great.
Yep.
Now
because it's like a logical. It's basically very similar to the dialogue we hear from Mr. Reed, where he's going through like a very
presenting a case,
professorial taking down the idea of religion in this movie. This was taking down the idea of religion in that movie.
That makes a lot of sense. Totally makes sense.
Wow. Yeah. Sorry. That was.
No, you're fine. It's midday on a Friday. We've both been working very hard. But he said that they're films that discuss religion seriously, but in a quote kind of popcorn movie context, which kind of interesting. Yeah. For the masses, I suppose. Like you mentioned briefly, you said that they had a long history, a deep friendship.
So they've been like best friends forever. In fact, they have a joint Wikipedia page. They don't even have their own Wikipedia pages.
I mean, they just
have a joint one.
The Vicious Brothers did for a long time too, until they quit working together. But apparently they met at 11 years old.
Yeah.
And they've had the Heretic idea for over a decade before they even started.
So this is literally like if you and Dennis like made movies and had a joint Wikipedia page.
We make podcasts. I bet
you do.
To a certain degree, we're a team of sorts.
I feel like I should make a joint Wikipedia page about you two now.
Well, I mean, it could be beneficial to our small company if we had a Wikipedia page for Audio Wool, but like who knows if someone listening wants to do that, that'd be wonderful.
Probably not the right person.
Yeah,
I try. My skill set's just dog shit in that corner.
It's fine. But yeah, Beck explains their inspiration saying, quote, "There's the idea of somebody searching for more, for something that's not right in front of them. There was something magical about trying to communicate that no one knows anything for certain and to challenge certain ideas. I think that's the lifeblood of civilization." So this idea had been kind of bouncing around in their heads for a long time, but the writing of the film was prompted by the death of Wood's father from esophageal cancer, which sounds awful.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he addresses the questions that it prompted, about what happens after death. I think that we all are sadly going to have to face that more directly.
Wait, and so his response was a takedown of religion?
Oh, I think if that's what you took, sad. I think that if that's what you took away from this film, you might be missing the point a little bit.
Well, I'll discuss what I mean.
I don't know if we're actually going to get to that.
Takedown of the literal. Well, sure, we must get to that.
Yeah. I think that what you said there is kind of pretty much it, right? Like maybe
right, but I would think in that moment he would be looking for like some type of comfort in. Nope, really, there's something there for sure.
But maybe that's not comfortable. I don't know. I don't find that.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. It's a very good point.
Either way, the filmmakers consulted various Mormon folks during the writing of this and production to make sure that the missionary characters were as genuine as possible and not cliches, which I think is kind of delightful. And that happens very quickly in the opening sequence, where we see, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton discussing pornography on a park bench.
Yep.
It really humanizes and approaches the Mormon missionaries and their faith from a different perspective. Like we're shown almost like a, not a parody, but like a simplification in most media.
About pornography?
No, about Mormon missionaries.
I know, I'm joking. I just the pornography was cracking me up. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just so you know, I might miss some things because I watched this like a month ago. So you just watched it like a couple hours ago. Thanks for
12 hours ago.
Filling in any of those fine details for me. I really appreciate it. It's delightful to be reminded.
Very excited to do it. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I love being introduced to Sophie Thatcher and Chloe's characters in this way because, like I said, I mean, I'm not going to go to bat for Mormons. I think it's a cult, but I do think humanizing these people is a better approach than making them cartoons from a Matt Stone and Trey Parker musical,
Yeah, which is funny because Byron, these are the weird things that happen that I'm like, Last night, we came straight from our oldest daughter's holiday concert at school to watch this. Put the kids to bed and started watching. At the holiday concert, I was sitting next to a good friend who just got back from New York and was telling me how amazing the Book of Mormon was. We had like a 20-minute conversation about the Book of Mormon. Mm-hmm. Then I came home and watched Heretic. It's like, interesting. And she's actually not a mean-spirited person at all. She's a very in fact, she's one of the people that I feel bad making mean-spirited jokes around because she's a really good human. So I thought it was an interesting take. Like, it's kind of mean. It's kind of mean.
I don't always blame the people who are participating in organized religion. They tend to be people who
I never do. My husband does. I don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's Sam. But yeah, for the most part, they're trying to find guardrails for being a good person. Some people are more misguided than others, especially when it comes to, removing the rights of women and their bodily autonomy and sexual rights, healthcare, right?
To me, it's very similar to, some feelings that I have about wars that our country engages in. Like, I'm not going to be pissed at people who were drafted into the Vietnam War, right?
Yeah.
But I am going to be pissed at the system that created the war and perpetuated it.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's really, and I mean, obviously, incredibly charming folks, both Sophie and Chloe. Great performance. And I love that sort of character development ahead of a film like this, when we're dropped into a situation like that. I think it was spot on. Great writing. Good job, boys. But
the characters in this book were really interesting to me, because I certainly have my feelings about missionaries.
Yeah.
Not necessarily disliking them, but having some pretty preconceived notions about them. And even as the movie started, my brain immediately developed a dichotomy between Sophie Thatcher's character,
That's
Sister,
Barnes.
I know we're supposed to be calling.
You're
Sorry.
fine.
Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, because I'm thinking, okay, so Sister Barnes is smart, Sister Paxton's dumb as shit.
I don't even know if that's true. It's like book smarts versus
No, it
street
wasn't
smarts,
true.
though.
That was the whole point. That was
sure.
the whole point. Like, my brain went straight into, like, this is the smart one, this is the dumb one. This is the one who understands how the world works and is hiding here because she's scared of everything else. This is the one who probably thinks all this shit is real. Like,
but it's,
and like my
it's
brain
so much more
immediately
complicated than that, which is really cool.
Gosh.
Because, like,
I loved the fact that there was a pivot point in this movie, which I'm sure we'll get to, where I went, wait, what? It was not the way I thought it was going to go. And then I had to totally reframe these judgments that I had previously made.
I just think they're far more deep than what you would expect. Like, Sister Barnes, Sophie Thatcher's character, has been kind of nailing, they're not conversions, what were they calling them? Basically, like, when people reach back out. Is that what they were counting?
No, I don't remember what they were called, but like,
she
who were interested. Yeah,
she had been getting far more giving far more compelling information that was resulting in people either reaching out or joining, or I can't remember exactly what it was. But Chloe East, her character, Sister Paxton, who seems to know deeply the scripture and is very excited to be doing this and to be converting people. She's struggling to do it because she's like far more ambitious, but she just is not connecting with people. But there's this other layer to that where Sister Barnes, she isn't so sold on this. She's not 100% sure. Her faith is like
in an interesting way, she has a huge command over like the theory.
Yeah.
In the same way that Mr. Reed obviously has a great deal of intelligence and understands all of the different facets of these religions and can speak about them definitely from a scholarly standpoint. But there's a very big difference between speaking about it from a scholarly standpoint and embracing it like as truth.
Yeah, she has a much richer faith because it's not unwavering to a fault, I guess. Right? Like she's not ignoring the questions like Paxton might be. But yeah, so after their pornography discussion, they decide to hit up one more house. It's Mr. Reed's house, and a snowstorm is following behind them. He invites them in and says, well, they of course stop him and say, we can't come in unless there's a woman present. And he says that his wife is in the kitchen making blueberry pie. They come in. He seems like a really stand-up guy. Hugh Grant charming.
I would love to know if there's anybody out there who has done missionary work specifically for the Mormon Church, but it seemed to me that the amount of time that went by where the wife was supposed to come in and didn't, like in that situation, how hard is that line of like, do you just leave? Or
I don't think you sit
patience?
down. If it was me, I wouldn't sit down until I knew for sure. But he's a compelling guy. Like
but they've got two like missions, no pun intended, but they're supposed to be converting this dude, right? And they're supposed to be adhering to these rules. And I'm just wondering in that situation if there's any either formal or informal directive about which one is supposed to supersede.
We have to have a Mormon adjacent listener who could definitely give us the call. 1-8.
I mean, I can call Wes.
No, I mean, we could talk to Wes. I do miss Wes, but 1-833-374-4489. That's 1-833 Fright 9. Give us a call if you have any information about mission trips. That would be really interesting. When I went to Chicago not too long ago, there was like 100 Mormon missionaries that were like distributing from.
It was like the scatter point?
Yeah, it must have been from Minneapolis. It wasn't Salt Lake. That would have made too much sense, of course. But yeah, I was really surprised. Yeah. Because I didn't know that there was structure to it in that sense, that there's like a deployment date, you know? Like I always thought it was...
I had no idea.
Yeah. Either way, eventually after a whole bunch of friendly back and forth and the beginning of religious discussion, they realize once he leaves that it is this blueberry scented candle, the pie...
By the way, sorry to interrupt her again, Byron, but
yeah.
I don't know anyone who has ever had a candle that smelled anything like a real baking pie. Not to be annoying as shit,
probably smells
but sweet-smelling
nice.
Candles typically smell awful and nothing like the real thing.
Well, I mean, how much are you spending on candles, Kelly?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot of money.
I actually don't doubt that, actually. But
it's a high expense.
So they become suspicious there, and they realize that they're actually locked in this house. There's no way out, but they're continuing to remain polite, probably more out of fear than it is kindness at this point. But still, it's a struggle between the two.
I would say that it's different between the two of them.
That's probably true.
I think that, I think that Sister Paxton is actually experiencing something very different than what Sister Barnes is experiencing. I think Sister Paxton is getting uncomfortable and wanting to be polite, but feels like she shouldn't be rude. And I think Sister Barnes is like, no, we need to get another on the books. Like, we need this number. And
I think
getting
it might be
frustrated.
Around. Barnes is Thatcher and Paxton is...
Really?
Yeah. Oh, no. Either way.
So I just felt like Paxton was more in tune with being polite, whereas because Barnes was the one that was willing to argue.
I guess that's true.
Like
you might have been right. You think she wants the numbers? She already has the numbers.
I think but her mission right now is to help her friend get the numbers and
That's
get
true.
another, like, we're talking pyramid scheme, Byron, here.
Yeah.
And this is her pass through, and she really needs to get this one on board.
I think you might be onto something, especially you have a more, you can see through that lens a little bit better than I am, as you are. You've lived the female experience, I've never been put in a situation where I felt intimidated by a man to, convince them necessarily. Not in the same way. Not in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I find myself trying to convince people of things quite a bit, Byron.
Yeah, well, not going to convince me, Kelly. The trap is set. Just kidding.
I know, it's fair.
No signal. Again, doors are locked. It's clear that this is intentional, but they still aren't really accepting it. But they decide to go down the hallway to try to see where he is and, try to, determine if...
Well, and I think they're freaked out that they can't get out.
Yeah.
And they're also worried because Sister Barnes looks in her pocket where the key to the bikes they had locked up outside, which is how they got out here.
He took their coats.
Where the key is supposed to be, and the key's no longer in her pocket. So they're like, okay, we can't get out the front door. It's locked. We don't have our key, which is the reason they didn't try to climb through that like weird little teeny tiny window.
Yeah, which probably would have been
so then
unbreakable
the best,
anyway.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But at least trying it would have been the best shot. But they go back essentially to try and figure out how they can get out of here. And that's when things start to become more and more apparent. And that's when the like very polite banter about religion that might be chalked up to somebody who's contemplating converting to Mormonism and really wants to understand the perspectives really crosses that line into, nope, this is definitely something else. And yeah, the weirdness isn't just because this is an odd dude. Like, there's something very nefarious going on, and you should be very scared.
It's time for presentations. It's time for debate, right?
And very heavy-handed debate.
those analogies, I think one of the coolest things about this is, so they enter this room. Is it the same room with the two doors, or is there two rooms?
It is the room with the two doors.
It's the same room.
No.
So we enter this new set piece where there's two doors, and we have him in front of this table where he's going to be presenting things to them, almost like a trial. Very interesting. Faith is on trial. And it shifts from him like having some like cursory knowledge about world religions to him trying to convince them that their faith is incorrect, or just questioning their faith, because he's going to let them decide by going through these doors, right? Belief and disbelief.
Right.
But
and
before he does that,
this idea. Yeah.
Yeah, no, go for it. He's got these analogies.
Well, so he starts with a song.
Oh,
and he's playing a song, and it is a song by the Hollies, "The Air That I Breathe." Okay. And it's funny because in the background I'm like, oh, I kind of like that song. I forgot about that song. It was one that like I've heard before, but haven't listened to in forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he plays it again, and is asking them, well, have you heard the song before? And they're like, yeah, you just played it. He's like, no, but otherwise. And then he's like, well, this is the same song as Creep, essentially. And he talks about, which is in fact true, that the estate of somebody connected with the Hollies sued Radiohead for copyright because the song is based, it's the same speed, the same chord sequence, etc.
Which, as a musician, I find this so irritating. Like, I was
going to ask your perspective, because it seems to me like it's finite, right? Like there's only so many different
if you're in a key, you only have so many chords,
right?
Like,
unless it's jazz and you're just like going batshit in any direction.
And there's like pretty basic theory that shows that like this is what appeals if you're trying to make this type of music. Like it's not stealing, it's playing an instrument.
Well, but chords continue to rule otherwise, which must be very frustrating too.
Well, the big one recently, there's Ed Sheeran versus Marvin Gaye and Ed Townsend's "Let's Get It On." There was a trial saying that those two were the same.
Me just someday I need to talk about more of the background of poor Marvin Gaye.
I think we did a whole episode on it last February.
We did. It was an April Fool's thing, but I'm still very depressed about Marvin Gaye.
Of course, there's a handful of these types of lawsuits that are suing people based on ideas that are just like music is a feeling. Like, this is not.
So Byron, I did this today though. I listened to the Hollies song, I listened to Radiohead song, and I listened, which I thought, oh God, I hate those balloons. Why does it do that? Why did it just give me balloons?
Oh, I missed it. You raised your hands and balloons came up?
Yeah, I don't understand how to control it. It's very annoying.
Well, it's a magic power.
The funny part about the story he tells is that in turn, after Radiohead was sued, then Radiohead went on and sued Lana Del Rey for stealing the song that they supposedly stole. And so I listened to all three of them, and I agree with you, Byron. Like, they're all very, very different types of songs. They're meant to evoke completely different things. The background chord sequence doesn't seem particularly like novel.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just because I have heard it a lot, but I don't know.
Well, if you look at chord
the point that he was making, right, which I understand very little. But.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, No Scrubs is the same as Crocodile Rock or No Woman, No Cry. Like, they're all the same chord progression.
Well,
okay. It's silly. I just think I don't like it. But like you said,
I thought
passing the lawsuit over to Lana Del Rey.
Right. So like he's talking about how it's just a sequence. Everything is iterations. Like he's presenting this idea that there is nothing original. And he didn't bring this up, but like people talk about this with Shakespeare all the time. Like you can talk about almost any movie or story that you read, and you can trace it back to a Shakespearean theme. And then you can take Shakespeare and you can trace it back to earlier themes like Hamlet and the Northmen, this older Norse mythology. Anyhow, he's then, of course, carrying that on from music to board games. And he talks about, which of course, this is why it's annoying sometimes to watch a movie with Sam, Byron, because we're watching it and he goes...
He probably jumped on it, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, he totally knew. He's like, well, yeah, it was a woman who was trying to point out how horrible landlords were for what they took advantage of people for, and you never got credit for the game. I'm like, how do you just know that? Like,
well, I
who
mean,
just walks around knowing that?
I knew that as well, but...
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyhow.
Either way.
He's saying people have ideas that are copied and copied and copied.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he passes that on to religion, and he starts talking about the similarities between Hinduism and Buddhism. And he talks about even in non-monotheistic religions, you've got figures like, Horus.
In the Egyptian.
Yeah, it was the Egyptian, and it was the blue Hindu guy. I'm not trying to be offensive. That's probably very offensive to Hindus. But anyhow, very archetypal stories that are told over and over again. And I actually hear about this all the time when I research things about the flood myth. Okay, like that over and over again, there's a flood story in just about every historical record of a civilization, and certainly in almost every religious record. So this idea he's presenting is certainly not a novel idea, but he's really doing it as a way to get these young women unsettled.
Well, and he's presenting it in such a convincing and he's eating this script so well. This is one of the best acted Hugh Grant moments I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of Hugh Grant.
Have you listened to any interviews with him about this movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I listened to one this morning, first thing. He talked about for months leading up to the movie, he would go on these long walks and would literally recite his lines and go through the entire movie in his head on every walk.
Well, it's cool.
And he would do this over and over.
Because they shot it chronologically. Like, they shot it in order, so that kind of makes sense.
And they did huge takes. And his explanation of why he did it that way is... Obviously, he wants to know his lines and know the story, but he said part of what is so important about this role was... How do I say this spoiler-free? Maybe I can't say it spoiler-free. Maybe I never mind.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if I can say it spoiler-free.
So like you mentioned, these long takes, and he gives this long... I can't think of the right word, but presentation comes to mind. Like, it just...
Soliloquies? Monologues?
Sure. Just a monologue. Yeah, but it almost as if he's in court and he's presenting evidence, like the film that inspired this. But he's sitting there and selling it in this way that almost convinces you, but then Sophie Thatcher's character, Sister Barnes, interrupts and points out just how base level and corny this all is.
Right.
How it's it's like theory for babies, basically. Like it's it's like a freshman psychology class, like that kind of, or theology, class, like.
And the religion argument is incredibly powerful from one standpoint of, even if you do believe that your religion is the one true religion, the fact that these ideas show up in many other religions, certainly before all of yours, in most cases, says something about human nature and, the way that human brains work. And I think there's a lot to be said there, but he's trying to manipulate that and take this interesting dialogue and push it to one single conclusion when that's so for Sister Barton, she's like, no, that actually doesn't work for me. Like, you're not freaking me out as much as you think you are.
No.
Whereas Sister Paxton is kind of like...
She's shaken by it.
I don't really want to think about this. This freaks me out. We'll say whatever you want to say. We got to get out of here. Whereas Sister Barton is almost takes it like I'm ready to fight about this. Like, no, I know my shit too. And I'll argue with you about this. This is stupid.
Well,
you're wrong.
That becomes really apparent when I think he's a little frustrated by this, but he starts with the belief and disbelief doors. He's like, well, you only have these two options. You have to, if you want to leave, you go through the belief or the disbelief door, and it enters
Yep.
down into this basement.
Yep.
Oh my God! I guess we got to go down the stairs a little bit. I don't know how deep we are gonna, but yeah, both.
Yeah,
doors,
you'll have to stop me.
Both doors lead us into this dungeon type place, and then
weird, fucked up basement. Like, obviously, everything is stone. It's very
filthy, wet.
Well, and at this point, I was talking to Sam. Sam goes, "If this turns into a fucking ghost story."
Oh, that would.
He was like really
alert,
distraught. I was like, "No,
it's not," and I would have been on the same.
Right. Well,
page.
I said it's Byron liked it, Sam, so it's not going to. I can promise you, there's no way Byron would have liked this if that's what it was. But it felt like I was like, is this going to be like a weird demonic possession thing that we're doing? I don't know. Like, I wasn't really sure where it was going to head.
Well, it kind of goes in that direction. There's this staged resurrection of a supposed prophet who is creepy, old prisoner-looking person, which he is calling his wife. You know, a lot of questions on the table immediately just by presenting that as a situation, right? Like you had
one question I have, Byron.
Uh-huh.
You know, he said his wife designed the house.
Yes. Yeah.
And that weird water thing, which I still don't really quite understand.
Wait, what's the water thing?
Do you remember? It's like a bamboo thing, and it like fills up with water that's dripping from the ceiling, and then it tips.
It tips down.
What was that?
I don't think it matters. I think.
Oh, it matters.
I actually
that was intentional. That was it. It played a big part, and I don't understand. I didn't do enough digging yet, but I'd love to hear anybody else's theories about what the hell that was supposed to be.
I have some thoughts about his whole approach to this that I'll probably make it for my final thoughts. But
okay,
yeah, the two sisters are separated, and yeah, it's just. I don't know what to say about this. I don't know how much deeper we should actually go.
I don't know that we should go much deeper either, because this is where things start to turn in a very interesting direction. And I will say shortly after this point is the turning point that for me, I had to totally reframe the way I thought about this movie and about our two heroines here. Mm-hmm. It's really worth watching because... Byron, I'll save it for my final thoughts because I think I can give this without spoiling it, but my ultimate takeaway from it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, like, this is it's a shocking film. It is not afraid to go even darker than it did. They bill it as a psychological horror. I don't know if that is exactly all we get here. So if you are expecting something that's going to be pulling punches and being mellow, remember this is A24, the people who had Little Diva head pop off. Like, this is they do mean stuff here, and it is mean. It's a fun ride.
It's mean and violent.
But as it goes, I mean, I guess I'm going to spoil a little bit in my final thoughts before we get there. It's time for As Above, So Below. What are your highs and what are your lows, Kelly?
I can go first. Yeah, will you go first?
Sure. My highs, absolutely the writing in this, and every performer. Like, this is such an interesting approach to this subject matter that I mean, it's not novel, you know, for anyone who's debating theology and faith. Like, you've heard these things, but I think that this is just such a smart approach that I haven't seen before. So, love it. I think that they did a great job with this. I might watch 64. Who knows? My
65. I'd watch that one instead.
Oh, the prequel. Pardon me. My low is not enough fucking Topher Grace.
Yeah, so funny thing, I had no clue that was Topher Grace until the movie was over. Yeah, I looked it up.
Topher Grace is their I don't know what
I guarantee you there was Topher on the cutting room floor. I'd love to see outtakes.
I would watch 30 full minutes of Topher Grace as Elder Kennedy trying to find these girls. I'm with you, Kelly. I had no idea it was him until I squinted really hard and I said, I know Topher was billed in that. That can't be Topher. But it was Topher. It was wonderful. How about you?
Amazing. So my highs were both Hugh Grant's performance as a whole. Again, like this was kind of my, what was it, Dallas Buyers Club for Matthew McConaughey.
Sure.
This was kind of that for me with Hugh Grant. And being totally surprised by Chloe East. Those were the highs for me. The lows, the wooden house that he was like carving little figures for and working on, that obviously, that was obviously had analogies. I would have liked to have seen more with the weird wooden house.
I felt like it was kind of unnecessary and almost just like the same with floating. It's like an A24 thing. It's like if we don't get a miniature set or someone floating in midair, it's not an A24 film. I guess
maybe that's true.
I don't think it was super necessary.
I guess maybe I wanted it to be not there or to have more of it.
I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah. So final thoughts?
Yeah, let's do it.
This movie, sometimes Byron gets excited about things that I think suck. And I'm trusting him more and more. And this was another mark in the favor of trust Byron. It was really an enjoyable movie to watch. As Byron said, the writing was incredible. The people who were chosen, the performers were amazing. Don't get me wrong. I think Sophie Thatcher did an incredible job with Sister Barnes. But that was the one thing I was actually excited about before I watched the movie. Because she was, I know who Hugh Grant was, but I certainly wasn't excited about Hugh Grant. But I really, really like Sophie Thatcher. And so I was excited about that. She did a wonderful job. And it doesn't speak to her doing a subpar performance as much as it speaks to everything else in the movie being wonderful, that wasn't even close to my favorite part of the movie. Very creepy, and it was good for my whole mission at this phase in my life of trying to question my assumptions, because the ultimate theme and message that I took away from this was actually the same as what I would tell my children is the spirit of Santa Claus.
Oh, God. I'm letting it slide because we're T-minus 3 weeks at this point.
Well, it's, the idea that maybe these religions are real and maybe they aren't. And yes, there is a whole horrific amount of evil done in this world under the guise of religion. But the true embodiment of religion in praying for someone else or in really trying to execute some amazing magical Christmas is a beautiful thing from a very humanity-based standpoint.
And that's what it's about this season.
Yeah. So I really, really liked this movie. I'm glad, Byron, that you got me to watch it before the year was over. And I give Heretic 9.4 unknowable bamboo water fillers.
Wow. Going big, swinging for the fences there. You have pushed back on this, but I think you've missed something quite significant. I love to see an unrestrained Hugh Grant. I saw this first from his performance in The Undoing. Remember the HBO series?
I do. Yeah, but he just played him, but like a little creepy at the end.
Well, no, I mean, I think it was there was a slippery transition.
Maybe
it's literally
maybe I didn't give him enough credit.
Called The Undoing, so that doesn't imply.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, this, he's delightful. The film's delightful. However, like with The Undoing, this doesn't perfectly stick the landing or solidify the theme, I guess. But I think, Kelly, that's the point. As this character, the writer, as his plans dissolve, his true, unpolished, and sloppy self kind of comes through, And then there's Sophie Thatcher. I've been saying it since I saw that mumblecore space drama Prospect at South by Southwest in 2017. She's an absolute star. And I don't know if you've seen the trailer for Companion yet. coming soon. I think early next year. She's only gonna get bigger. She's amazing. And Chloe East, like you said, very surprising and sturdy performance. Like really, really consistent. I definitely needed more Topher Grace. But yeah, it's a beautiful film. It's not a perfect film. But again, I think that is the point. It's supposed to leave you with a question, not an answer. And, you know, when I did leave the film, I felt really good about this. And I still do. And for those reasons, I give Heretic 7.9 candles. Not pies.
Not pies. I don't know. I really like pie. It made me want to make pie. That's
good.
for damn sure.
I made a great pie for Thanksgiving. And those are our thoughts on Heretic, which is available now very expensively on VOD. I'm sure it'll be more wide or coming to one of the streamers like HBO Max at some point soon.
I don't know. Give these guys some of your money, though.
Yeah, why not?
Like, if you can. If you can't, by no means. Of course not. But if you have it to give them some money. These creators, they're doing some good work.
Scott and Brian are great. They aren't working on directing anything as of yet, but they are doing a rewrite for a film called Sovereign, which it's a sci-fi thriller about a man seeking revenge against a spaceship that killed his wife. Not sure what that's going to look like.
Wait,
but
what?
Yeah, that's what it says. But it's cool to see them, reapproaching something that was such a weird script. It sounds like, I mean, if he's literally taking revenge against a spaceship, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see anything they do. But yeah, Kelly, I guess, I can push this button, and I swear I'm going to get this in front of me so it's easier to do. Episode 400, right around the corner. Really excited. Make sure to get your questions in at Frightday on social media. Contact at frightday.com is our email address, but give us a phone call at 1-833.
And ask anything.
Friday
I'm
night.
Insane. I'll probably answer just about any question.
She'll say too much about very little.
Always.
Yeah. Kelly, I'm excited for the holiday season. I think we've done a great balance of this, and it's great to connect with you ahead of that. And
you too. I'll get you the list, B. I'm working hard on it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of days full of triple viewings ahead of us, but looking forward to it. Thanks,
coward.
Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in live at live.frightday.com and listening. We appreciate you.
Stay scared.
Yeah. Well, until next episode of Frightday and Byron.
Oh, I'm Kelly. Stay scared.
Okay, and also stay out of
Trying
the
to hurry.
house. Great.
Music's gonna end.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to an Audio Wool original, produced by Byron McKoy. Theme music is provided by Yawns. For more programs like this, visit audiowool.co.